I snuck into my parents' bedroom like James Bond going for the microfilm. I'm standing in that bureau, I'm staring at that wallet there, and as I reach for it, I notice my hand is shaking like a 50-cent ladder.
That's Bill Torrey telling his story live on stage at the 2016 Howell Grand Slam. And on today's episode, trying to get one over on your old man. From NCPR and the Adirondack Center for Writing, this is The Howl. True stories, no notes, live on stage in the North Country. I'm Ethan Shanty. I come from a big family. I've got 6 brothers, 5 of them are half, 1 is full, and my parents started having kids when they were in their 20s, so there is kind of a big age gap between some of us. Me and my younger brother didn't come along until they were 39 and 40, respectively, so my parents, needless to say, had seen it all. They'd heard all the lies, they've witnessed all manner of deception. There was really nothing that we could get past them. I had already heard how my brother Zach had stolen my parents' homemade beef jerky and was selling it for $1 a piece in the school cafeteria, and how Corey was trying to sneak cigarettes but got caught smoking in a bowling alley one night. I knew that even if I wanted to try to scheme, to subvert, or otherwise pull the wool over my folks' eyes, it would be pretty much a lost cause. So I guess some kind of helplessness took over, and I grew up to be a pretty trustworthy kid. The thought of stealing money from my parents or taking the car out for a late-night joyride was just out of the question. It's not that I didn't think about it. Of course I thought about it. I just knew that I could never get away with it. So I guess, really, I owe a thanks to my brothers for screwing up before I could. Today's storyteller was a little more daring than me. A lot more daring, actually. Bill told us his story live on stage in Hewelton at the 2016 Grand Slam.
I was raised during the 60s and early 70s. And my mom, like most families back then, she ran the household, but my dad ran the family. And he did so with a dry wit, a firm hand, and an occasional foot in the ass when called for it. He taught me a very strong work ethic early in my life. I remember I was around 11, 12 years old. He came into the house. I just finished lunch. He looked at me and said, "Boy," he said, "how would you like to be a pilot?" I said, "A pilot? Yeah, I'd love to be a pilot." He said, "Good. Just dumped a load of firewood out by the shed. Go out there and pilot." He used this same principle on me with hay bales during the summer. In those summer days, hay are usually hotter than 2 rats screwing in a wool sock. I'd be in the back of my old man's pickup truck, sweating like a hairy ox. Sooner or later, he'd come up to the tailgate and real gently set a bale on the tailgate, and he'd say, "Careful, boy, this here's a tender one." Now, as the pilot on the truck, I knew that when my dad said a bale was tender, it meant that it was a large, hay-filled slinky that I had to get in out of the truck and into the barn without busting. Because if I broke a bale, look out. He'd get after me. He'd say something like, "You must have yanked on the strings." Or more likely, he'd say, "You must have horsed it." You see, horsing it was one of his favorites because it was just so damn versatile. You could horse just about anything. From a fish on a line to a lawnmower, I was once accused of horsing a potato hook. And spearing a potato with your potato hook was right up there with bale busting. Of course, the old man, he could break a bale and wouldn't bat an eye. He'd say something like, "That knotter on the baler must need greasing." Bale just broke on me. Like he was the victim of some great grease-hoarding conspiracy cooked up by the baler. And he could spear a potato and wouldn't miss a beat. He'd just give it a disgusted look as he'd take it off his hook and must have been one that grew outside the hill. Like it was some renegade mongrel potato and it deserved a good spearing. Of course, this was the same man that would chase us kids around the supper table with a big spoonful of horseradish. You see, it was his brand of entertainment that he knew he could get away with because he was the head honcho of the family, and he ruled with supreme authority. Now, you see, as his kids, we felt it was our sworn duty to evade, elude, and otherwise circumvent that authority, especially as we became teenagers. Well, I'll tell you, trying to outsmart my old man was like trying to sneak sunrise past a rooster. Now, my older siblings, they always thought that I had it easy, because they wore him down. Well, I just said, screw you. I said, you made it tougher because you sharpened his senses with repeated practice. I think it was a slight advantage, though. I was the youngest of 6 kids, and I got to watch the often feeble attempts of my older siblings trying to outwit my dad. It was almost like watching game tapes of an opponent you'd be facing later in the season. Now, the greatest deception ever pulled against my old man occurred in the summer of 1973 when I turned 16, got my driver's license. Now, you see, I didn't just see it as a license to drive. I saw it as a license to park with a girl. And I had one of those. All I needed was a good, secluded spot to do so. And I found one by using our deer camp driveway about 12 miles away. And for a while, things were great. I was happier than a woodchuck in soft dirt. But you see, I got greedy. I got to thinking, wouldn't it be nice to go inside the camp? And you see, it was this greed, this randy desire, that allowed my little head to start doing the thinking. Because there was only one key that I knew of to that camp, and it was in a place that no kid had ever gone before. The wallet of my old man, which for all practical purposes was pretty much glued right to his ass. However, my motivation was substantial. So I devised a plan. My surveillance revealed that on most weekends, my parents would go out at least once, and this would require my old man to, as he so elegantly put it, shave, shower, and shampoo. Now, he would always perform this ritual in the downstairs basement bathroom. However, he would leave his wallet upstairs on the bureau next to the bed. Now, being a creature of habit, he would always faithfully, before he would step under that shower head, he would scream at the top of his lungs, "Going in!" You see, this was to ward off any upstairs toilet flushers and avoid being scalded like a pig. And on that fateful night, it was also my secret battle cry, because I was going in. I snuck into my parents' bedroom like James Bond going for the microfilm. I'm standing in that bureau, I'm staring at that wallet there, and as I reach for it, I notice my hand is shaking like a 50-cent ladder. I pick up the wallet, take the key out of it, place it in my pocket, replace the wallet perfectly, leave the bedroom, jump in my car, blast up to the hardware store, have a key made, jump in my car, blast back, and as I'm walking down the hallway to my parents' bedroom, I can hear my father's footsteps coming up the stairs. Missed my chance. Missed my opportunity. Because you see, if I don't replace that key before he goes up to camp again, my goose is cooked. It wasn't only about a week before a game warden had spotted my car parked at camp, and he'd call my dad with my plate number, and I'd lied my way out of it. But don't you see, if that key comes up missing, he's smart enough to connect the dots. So I'm praying to whatever horny teenage boy gods I hope exist in this world to come to my aid. And I bided my time, and I waited. More importantly, I didn't horse it. And a few weeks later, I not only restored that key, but also my faith in the power of prayer. Amen, brothers and sisters. Thank you.
That's it for this week, and remember, folks, if you're going to try to pull one over on your parents, let your older brothers and sisters screw up first so you can take notes. Thanks to Bill for the story, and thanks so much to you for joining us again. The Howl is written, produced, and edited by me. I'm Ethan Shanty. Editorial supervision is by David Summerstein. Live audio is captured on stage by Doyle Dean. Bill Hanel handles our digital stuff, and Caitlin Kelly is our social media superhero. Music on today's episode is by famous letter writer of Plattsburgh. The Howl is a co-production of NCPR and the Adirondack Center for Writing in Saranac Lake. You can find more episodes and support this program, plus find out when we're going to be telling stories in your hometown by visiting ncpr.org/howl. This is NCPR North Country Public Radio.